I don't think retail is dead. I think bad retail is dead.
Well said.
70% of Gen Z gets all of their style inspiration and starting their shopping journey on social media. That's crazy. So they're not going to Google anymore. They're going straight to TikTok.
Right. You can add AI to everything, right? Yeah. You can add AI to that digital channel and this physical channel. It's literally everywhere.
But really, it's like, what do our consumers actually want to see AI utilized as? And a lot of it is very simple.
You want to navigate that with not just throw AI into everything. We want to keep what makes Zappos magical, which is the human magic of like when people interact with you.
If you full-blown AI machine learning for everything, you fully lose that. You look very autonomous. You have to move how your customer actually is also moving. You can't move too quickly because then they're just going to leave you and go back to someone that actually is not going that fast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Marketing Trends. Welcome to the show. As always, it's your host, Jeremy Bergeron. I am thrilled to have Joe Cano, Chief Marketing and Merchandising Officer at a brand you probably know of, Zappos. Joe brings over 2 decades of experience in retail and e-com. This human being has held dope roles at places like Walmart, Saks Fifth Avenue, and Gilt, right? We're talking about someone who has expertise in digital transformation, customer experience, and Joe's been instrumental in driving Zappos' innovative strategies. We're going to touch on all that today. Joe, I'm going to shut up and stop talking. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am thrilled. I feel like a kid in a candy store right now because Zappos was, I was telling you in the pre-conversation, I mean, I graduated high school in 2000. Zappos hit the scene right around then. And I remember hearing about this brand that was obsessed with customers. I had never heard of a brand that was so obsessed with customers. So to now be in my 40s, connecting with Zappos in real life, connecting with someone who is really, really vested in the growth of this brand, it's such an honor. Let's just start there. What's it like to work at like a 25-year-old epic tech company like Zappos?
Yeah, it's so funny. Kind of growing up in that kind of 90s and 2000s also, and seeing them kind of grow. I've always had them kind of in the back of my mind. I think when I was at Hot Topic, like in the early 2000s, we were studying them. Like, what are they doing? This is so interesting. And I, at that point in time, was like, I would love to work for them. They seem like such a cool company. So now that I'm actually here, it is an amazing company. The culture is probably the best culture I've ever been in ever. Like, some people have their core values. Zappos really lives and breathes them. And so as I was kind of shopping for my kind of new opportunity and new role, this came up and I was just so excited to talk to them. And even my partner, he was in the background of my first round of interviews. He looked at me and said, "You need to work at this company." I'm like, "I know, I need to work at this company. Like, I've got to." He's like, "You got to nail this job." Like, "I'm going to. Trust me." So it's so much fun. It's so dynamic. It truly is a family. And that's what I love. I actually do have friends at work. We hang out. We get a job done. We go out after for happy hour and just kind of like, have a good time. It's great. I love it. I love that they care about people. They truly do. I mean, it's again, probably the best culture I've ever worked in my adult career.
What did you notice kind of outside looking in about the culture? What surprised you about the culture? Now you're in there, you've been in the role for a while, you're infusing and injecting so much of that culture yourself. Like, what surprised you about the experience of the culture internally? Was there anything that would like, oh my God, this is better than I ever thought? Or wow, everybody goes that way and then we go this way. Like, what's that even like?
What I love is that there is no ego and people are kind. And coming in from kind of larger corporations, you do have some of those kind of people that have that ego that are like, well, you can't talk to that person because they're at that level. So you need to go through me first, and then I can do this. There's none of that here. People at the lowest level will email the CEO. Everyone has my cell phone number. People will text me, Slack me, email me. It doesn't matter. And I love that. I think it's great because it creates this like radical candor that someone can say, "Hey, we're doing this. I think we should do this. What do you think about it?" And it sparks some amazing ideas and initiatives that can go. And that's something that they talked about. But I was like, every company talks about that. They're like, we've got an open door policy. That's such a widely used term. But here it truly is, where people actually do that. And it took me a bit to actually put my guard down to like allow that to happen. And even one of the people that was my directors at the time was like, hey, it's okay. No one's coming after you or your job. We all really do want to help you. And it was interesting. I'm
Wow.
like, wow, am I that jaded now that I don't think people actually want to help? That people are actually trying to circumvent me on something. So it really is
Wow.
cool to be in a place where I do feel like this is my home. Like these people are like my family, and I want to do everything I can to get them to where they need to be, and they want to do everything they can to actually help the consumer. So it's really cool. It's really, really cool.
Can you brag on yourself just a little bit here? And what was an early win when you first kind of jumped on board? Like what was something like initially when you joined the Zappos squad that you saw this opportunity and supported a solution or brought something to the
Yeah. So
table?
I going into any company, I always, as I'm interviewing, kind of present just like a one pager and say like, hey, here's some things that I've noticed just by looking from the outside in. And one of my biggest things was you guys really expanded your assortment during COVID, and that was probably the right thing for then. But you got more brands than Macy's. Probably not the way you want to go. We've probably over
Mm,
assorted ourselves. We are probably not making the margins we actually want to. So that was my first adoption. And the CEO is funny. He said like in the interview as I presented this to everyone, he's like, "Did you talk to anyone?" He's like, "Because this is like right on what we're actually dealing with right now." He's like, "How would you solve
wow.
this?" I'm like, here's what I would do." And as soon as I got in, he basically was like, "All right, implement this. Go do it. I love it. Let's get back to our core values. Let's get back to selling footwear first because that's really what we're known for. Let's exit some of these brands." And so I went forth and did it, and had an amazing team to really back me up on it. So we exited like 35% of our brands because we realized customers weren't resonating. We were just kind of creating more of a barrier to entry for people actually finding what they really wanted versus it just being like a sea full of stuff. And that led to some amazing output. So like this year, our margins are better than they've ever been. Customers are coming back. Conversion rate is significantly up. So it is amazing to see that like, hey, if we actually really double down on things that people want, like Ons and Birkenstock and Hoka and New Balance, and all these great brands that want us to win, we're all doing great now. So it's great to kind of see the resurgence of our kind of core customer and to see that, hey, everything that we've done is actually paying off in spades now. And that was one of the first things that I kind of enacted that we're still working on right now. So it's super excited about
Wow.
that, and super excited that the team was so willing to do such a big pivot from kind of past leadership.
That's so interesting. What made you think that there was too many too many offerings? Like what had that grab your attention right away?
Yeah. So, I mean, being in the industry for a while, I for the most part can spit off, okay, this side does this many billions, that side does these hundreds of millions, And so I looked at it and said, hey, we looking at the numbers of what Zappos is, there's not enough consumers out there to fill this demand. And eventually you're just going to run into a big issue with over inventory. You have too many markdowns. We got to get rid of that, all that type of stuff. And I kind of looked and said, okay, what do customers actually really want? And what is Zappos really known for? They started selling footwear. They were the first
Hmm.
retailer to kind of really start to have a critical mass selling footwear online. And I kind of looked and said, hey, we kind of need to go back to basics. And it's not like some revolutionary idea, but when someone's in it and they're moving and they're consistently going and they have a boss saying, add more brands, you kind of just step back and say, what is that why? And that's what I really did. And kind of just stood back and said, okay, like give me some of the data points. Is what I'm hypothesizing kind of true from a back end perspective? And then looking at it from, a margin, traffic, all those kind of things, you look like, yeah, a lot of these things are just kind of muddying up the site. And so armed with some of that data with kind of a hypothesis, that's what kind of led me to this also. But overall, you can just kind of see like, hey, the number one department store in the world probably shouldn't have less brands than Zappos, an online only retailer. That was just my first
Mm,
guess. And then diving into
right.
data, I realized, okay, this is true. So we got to fix this.
What about you have this experience working with, I don't know, the number one brand in the world, Walmart, right? Fortune 1 on the Fortune 1000. So, here that tells me you're representing an ecom a retailer, not just ecom, but physical and ecom retailer that is massive and huge. And with that comes probably a lot of resources, support, and velocity and ability to move quickly, I imagine. what was that like for you, kind of coming from that? You're coming from the best of the best in retail,
Yeah.
clearly. And then you're coming into Zappos, been around a long time. Did you feel like you're kind of coming up against like, oh, we got to go faster? Or did you feel like, hey, when you joined Zappos, like they saw that vision, let's make this real, let's get behind you? Or you felt like you had to, were you able to move at the same speed, right? Coming at a smaller brand, leaving it from a gorilla like Walmart?
Yeah, so it did take some time. I had to obviously, you can't come in like a full wrecking ball in the first, like you
Yeah.
can say, we are changing everything. It was, hey, this is what I'm seeing. What are you guys seeing also? Can you come back to me? And I want you to come to me saying, here's reasons why we actually did this and why we want to stay, or here's reasons why actually we might think that you might be correct. We need to kind of pull back on a couple of these things. So for me, it was a little more of obviously like a test and learn, kind of looking at it and really understanding how fast can the culture move versus how fast do I want to move. And that's the thing that we really kind of played around with because, knee-jerk reaction to something sometimes usually doesn't work. It's kind of making sure you have the buy-in across all those cross-functional partners. So I was actually pleasantly surprised at how quickly they moved. Within probably about a month to a month and a half, analysis was kind of going around, presenting things to the CEO, presenting things to the CFO, saying, here's my plan. Are you guys bought it? And they were like, we're bought at the top side. Now let's get those director levels. Like, let's get all of them bought in. So it was a little more of a roadshow, but what's great about it was everyone was open. There was no one that said, we are absolutely not doing this and digging their heels in. And this is where I talked about that ego thing. If there was an ego, for some businesses were like, we're not doing this because this is my business and I don't want to do this. You get a lot of that.
Right. Right.
And at Zappos, there wasn't any of that. It was more of a, we can do a better thing for our consumers. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. And so we band it all together. And so I was really happy about how fast it moved. Obviously, if it was just me running this and there's 3 people in the company, would I move faster? Of course. But I was very, very surprised and really actually excited about how the company and the culture embraced that change. And it was really, really exciting for me to kind of see everyone really band together. And now seeing all the benefits of it, everyone is kind of like, we did this. We changed the trajectory of our company by doing these things. And while it was difficult, we are now in such a great spot and are kind of going back to this really exciting growth mode that Zappos hasn't seen for a bit.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about technology.
Yeah.
We got to touch on AI a little bit. Of course, it's transforming the retail landscape. Of course, there's so much happening in customer experience, and obviously, it's supporting a lot of operational efficiencies as well. How is Zappos leveraging AI, right, to improve product recommendations, customer interactions, just generally speaking? Because I did read, I think that Zappos uses AI to personalize email marketing campaigns and recommend things based on browsing and things like that. But can you elaborate on how AI is really being integrated into the Zappos way?
Yes. So I'm going to take you on a journey. How about that?
Yes.
So
Okay.
so I'm going to start kind of on the merchandising side and then go into the marketing side. So from the merchandising side, we use everything from keyword search terms on social to what is kind of trending in the marketplace to what outside data is telling us about what areas and brands are actually going to be growing for next year. So we utilize that as our baseline. We then go out to our buyers and say, here's what you should buy in here, down to like, here's how many colorways you should buy. Here are the colors that we think are going to be trending and popping this next year. Don't overbuy in black and brown because those will always be some staples. You need some of those fun things. So we give them a great playbook by brand. We go out to brand, go into market. We are now bringing our marketing team with us saying, here's what we think is going to be exciting. We then go through and say, okay, we're going to buy this great Birkenstock, Arizona, waterproof sandal. Let's just call that one out. If we showcase it to somebody on the West Coast, you might have like a beach background, something more fun and sunny because you're maybe in LA, you're maybe in California or Las Vegas where I'm at right now. And you want to see kind of some of that kind of mood. And then if you look at people that are in the East Coast, maybe in a Boston or New York or Philadelphia or DC, you want more of a city feel. So you might see that same sandal, but in a city feel kind of background. And so that's how we're marketing to you. So it's the same type of product. We're saying, okay, Birkenstock's doing well. They have a great relationship with us. We're going to showcase this great, amazing style, whether it's the Boston, whether it's the Arizona, and how are we going to showcase it to our customers? And then we kind of look to see where those customers are. What are their affinities? What do they gravitate towards? And then showcase them different types of creative to give them that emotional connection that says, oh yeah, like this is what I need to buy. Like this is my city. this is my beach, this is my hike, all of those things kind of dovetail into all of that. So AI and machine learning does all of that for us to the point where we even can consolidate what outfit they should wear by what shoe they purchase. Like, are you more
Wow.
sporty? Are you more casual? Are you want to be dressed up? Like, what is the vibe that you want to go into? And we then kind of create that and curate that for you. So it is on almost every single touch point to before you go to market, to in market, to creating that email, to creating that asset for content, to sharing it back out. And then we review all those saying, okay, did this work? Did it not? If it didn't, what should you be doing? What are customers saying? And most people don't do this. And it's funny, people kind of talk about their consumers all the time. I always ask, when was the last time you talked to your consumers? And most people are like, well, we do like a weekly survey. We do this. We do voice of customer. Okay, that's great. But like, have you done a focus group? And we do those once a quarter with our best consumers, our consumers maybe stop shopping with us, consumers that have never shopped with us, and say like, what do you want to see? What do you want? And then seeing how we can go above and beyond what they actually want. It's a little playbook out of like Steve Jobs. Like, I'm not giving a customer what they're asking for. I'm giving them they like don't even know what they want yet. And so that's what I'm kind of searching for in every marketing campaign, is to remove that friction and give them something that they didn't think they need.
I love that. I know I'm pretty sure Zappos has also experimented with like VR and AR, like try on features for shoes and things like that. How is this technology something that you're going to keep moving, forward, and how has it impacted customers and experiences using some AR, VR type things?
Yeah. So we do have some virtual try on. We tested out with a couple different brands. It resonated with some consumers. We're seeing that a lot of that's gravitating towards social. So you see Snapchat like owning that like nobody's business. So for me, again, I like to reduce friction. Say, okay, if this is being offered within 5 different platforms, where are the customers already gravitating towards? So am I going to push them towards VTO if I know they've been on Snapchat and utilizing that for like 3 or 4 weeks? Probably not. So I'm picking and choosing kind of my times to do that. I think virtual try on and kind of augmented reality is super interesting. We're still kind of tiptoeing into that, because I think it's really exciting and fun, to kind of see how a style looks, how it's going to look on you. I think people usually want to see like, how does this fit? And is this the right fit for me versus, yeah, I think this is the right style for me also. But I think it's really, really exciting. I'm probably going to be utilizing that more on a social aspect, versus something
Okay.
on my app or kind of on the browser. And the main reason for that is I want to reduce friction. I don't want to push you into an
Mm-hmm.
experience that you've already experienced somewhere else. I want to give you a
Mm.
seamless experience, less clicks, give you more information, all of that stuff to make sure that I'm not creating more of a barrier to entry, versus maybe some other competitors of ours.
And one of the most beautiful things about Zappos is the human touch, right? This element of how obsessed Zappos is with their customers across category. Now you have AI, and now it's kind of like you have a recipe book of like you can add AI to everything, right?
Yeah.
You can add AI to that digital channel and this physical channel. It's literally everywhere, right? And you mentioned this a little bit in our conversation of just how you want to navigate that with grace and with brilliance, but also like not just throw AI into everything. We want to keep what makes Zappos magical, which is the human magic of like when people interact with you. How are you navigating that as a brand?
Exactly. So one of the things that we always talk about is people love Zappos for our kind of personal, emotional connection. And if you full blown AI machine learning for everything, you fully lose that. You look very
Mm-hmm.
autonomous. And while that I think that's exciting, kind of I talked about the culture moving as fast as you want to. I don't think the consumer can move as fast as potentially AI can move. And so we have to temper what our expectations are of, okay, where do we utilize AI? I'm full blown utilizing AI for my data analytics, and data mining and figuring out what consumers want, how to showcase it better to them, depending on where they're at in the country. I think that is a great way that we're utilizing it. You're never going to see Zappos with full AI models and backgrounds and all of that stuff. Like that is not going to happen. We are still utilizing real people, really kind of sharing their own experiences of why they actually love the brand, why they're actually showcasing why they love, the different types of brands we sell on Zappos. And so overall, for me, it's really focusing on what do the consumers actually want to utilize AI for. And a lot of that is size and fit, recommendations for them. We have things so far as All right, I don't know if you have kids, but if you do,
We do.
okay, perfect. They run out of their shoe sizes very quickly, usually about 3 to 4 months sometimes, depending on kind of what age you are. Potentially 6 months, but we'll say like 3 to 6 months. So we've created a great algorithm where you buy, let's just say you buy a pair of kids Crocs and you buy it in a size 4. All right. Well, in 3 months, you might need to start looking for, okay, we might need to size up because of course you're going to have the kid throw on a shoe right before you go to school and be like, my shoes don't fit. You're like, put it on. We'll just get you new ones tomorrow. Like you have that stress and anxiety. So for us, before that even happens, we send you an email with the new size up of that brand, including affinity brands, and saying, hey, you should probably size up. We'll get this for you in 2 days. But before your kids goes and screams, hey, my shoes don't fit, you're already going to have a new pair for them. And a lot of people will buy maybe like a 4, 5, and 6. And so they'll buy them all at the same time. But kids now, they want their moods change. What they want changes. They might be wearing Crocs one week when they're like, hey, I want those New Balances because I just saw them like pop up. And actually, no, I want the Adidas Samba because that's something that's popping up as well. So it is really important to kind of stay on the trend. And so that is a really good way that we're utilizing AI, one, to help parents out. I've got 6 siblings. They all have kids. So kind of buying shoes for them is also really fun. But it can be a little daunting. I'm like, okay, what size are they? What size are they going to be? Are they the midway point?
Right.
Like, it's so difficult. So removing that friction, I mean, wouldn't that be nice to just have shoes being shipped to you when you don't have to worry about it and say, hey, do you like these? Do you like these New Balances? Good. Okay, we're going to check out. Perfect.
Wow. I love it. Is the extensive return policy and the legendary kind of customer service, has that remained the same since the late 90s?
Yeah, it has remained the same. We have 365 returns, and we're the only ones really offering that. I mean, Nordstrom does. You can return anything out of it, which is fine. But we have that 365 return just because we know that people get busy. You go out of town, you go on a work trip, someone doesn't try it on. We don't want to like penalize you for being a busy human being. And I think we're all getting busier and busier and have kind of less and less time to do everything. So the amazing customer service, you can reach someone 24/7, that will always be there. And we're kind of changing that up. Some people want to call, some people want to chat, some people want to text. So we're working on that right now to make sure that however you want to interact with our customer service, our customer service kind of team, that we're here for you. So that for me will always be at the baseline of kind of what we do. And so, I mean, most people actually return things that are very respectable. So I will obviously wait a little bit longer, but for the most part, everyone returns in a very, very similar cadence to how it was at a Saks, at a Gilt, at a Walmart. It's all for the most part the same. For us, it's really kind of eliminating the need to return, saying, hey, let's get it right the first time. So we can maybe be a little bit better to the environment.
I've seen retailers using kind of like gamified loyalty programs to keep customers engaged. And I'm curious if Zappos has explored any kind of similar strategies like rewarding points for interactive shopping activities or creating challenges that customers can compete for, things like that.
Yeah. Loyalty, I think, is super important. In a time where people are like the most unloyal to any brand, it's good to have. We call them our Zappos lovers, our Zappos loyalists who've been with us for years and years. And so we do have some fun little games and stuff. We've kind of done a small relaunch this year because it is the 25th year anniversary. Actually, just I believe today, we launched a great kind of offer to our consumers of, hey, you've been with us since 1999. Here's $19.99 that you're actually going to get from us. Happy shopping. Go for it. So like we do have fun things like that. We do have great things where if you write reviews, you get more points. We have great points offers if you're a loyal customer. Also, we're like double, triple points on certain products and things like that. So we really do try to reward them. Birthdays, half birthdays, all that kind of fun stuff. You buy 2 different types of categories. We also kind of give you some nice offerings. So it's kind of like an In-N-Out secret menu at times, where if you know, and you really know how to kind of shop it, which is really fun. And it gets this like really exciting like word of mouth. Especially I love kind of reading some of the Reddit threads. I'm like, yeah, keep going, guys. Keep digging in. Keep showing everyone what's going on. I love it.
Oh, that's great. How do you think about, zoom out, how do you think about the different generations that are interacting with Zappos, right? I mean, you have X, millennials, and baby boomers, and you've literally got this genre of generations, and I'd be curious to know what the data is around it. But how do you like look at that? Because you have all of these various channels by which each of these generations are or are not interacting with the brand. You want to be everywhere. You want to be omni-channel. What this generation cares about is not what that generation cares about.
Yeah.
And so how do you look at the ecosystem, if you will, of the avatar that you're serving? Because you're serving the little kids, you're serving the old people, you're serving everyone in between, and how do you even not get overwhelmed with that?
Yeah.
One, and how do you, because I heard what you said. You said when you came in to Zappos, you kind of took a page out of you wanted to simplify. Let's actually reduce what we're doing. Let's go back to what we know really well. So how do you look at this massive opportunity and see how the world's moving and all these different generations are moving through technology and through content and through brands? How do you just make sense of it as a marketing leader? And how do you know where you're focused and where should we be focused? Is it everywhere? Or no, it's really this generation? How do you think about that?
Yeah. So I love this question. We talk about this all the time. And here's where we're at. Obviously, we're consistently iterating, but I would probably say a baby boomer is not going to TikTok to find fashion trends.
Right.
So what we do is we actually, there's some.
There's a few, for sure.
There's a few. I guarantee you my parents have never downloaded the app, have no idea what that is. So what I do is basically say, okay, this is the cohort of customers that buys this subset of product. And I'm going to focus in on these channels where they're at. Now, baby boomers are on Facebook. They love that. They love a Facebook. And so I really focus in on the brands that sell there. And some brands actually span across the gamut. Like New Balance, my dad wears them, and my 14-year-old nephew wears them. That one goes across time. So you kind of put those in every single one of those areas. So we take our customer kind of database and say, here are the top, 15 brands that each one of these cohorts buy. And how do we showcase that to them? What models do we use? And so if you look at TikTok and Instagram, those are going to look very different than how we actually market things on Facebook and or how we market things on Google also. So for us, it really is making sure that we're tailoring. I know everyone calls it personalization. I prefer tailoring. I like to hyper tailor to you and say, okay, you've purchased Vionic shoes and you've also purchased Birkenstock. So I'm going to showcase to you other affinity brands people have purchased within those subset, getting data from kind of total Google, getting our own data as well. And then showcasing, all right, here's why you actually purchased them, and here's why you should actually purchase them again. And so that's been really exciting for us. So we kind of break things into kind of different customer cohorts and say, all right, with people that love kind of more of a comfort shoe, which is going to be more of the baby boomers, we're going to showcase it to them in these ways, in these channels, at these price points. If someone is a Gen Z, we're going to not really focus in on a couple of those other channels because they mainly go to Instagram, TikTok to do all of their. I think the stat that I just learned is 70% of Gen Z gets all of their style inspiration and starting their shopping journey on social media. That's crazy. So they're not going to Google anymore. They're going straight to TikTok and are shoes and now, top trending shoes, hot pig shoe, like all those things kind of go into it. So how do we show up in the right way for them? So it's so interesting. And what's great is we've got a lot of data, but it's kind of using AI to data mine to then give us, here's what you think, here's a playbook. And then us kind of sense checking saying, okay, yes, this makes sense. Let's go forward and let's do it.
Are you doing any radio, TV, direct mail, any of those channels that you're using for some of the older generations?
Yeah,
perhaps?
we did a direct mail last year for a back to school campaign. It was okay. It didn't didn't knock it out of the park. We're still kind of testing and learning, how customers actually want to react to that. And again, direct mailing works for people that are a little more of an older generation. So more of that baby boomers, or maybe that Gen X. And so we're going to focus in on those consumers. I think maybe that younger millennial kind of mom, dad with a 2, 3, 5 to maybe even like an 8-year-old kid maybe don't resonate as well because they grew up with the internet. So we're testing and learning. Going to be doing something this fall as well with direct mailers. From like a radio perspective, they did some tests in the past. They weren't as successful as I would have liked to see looking at data. We're going through this next year and actually testing a lot of other things, whether that is going to be in TV, whether it is going to be in radio. So overall, nothing is off the table because I think we need to kind of test and learn from everybody and see what resonates with that kind of customer cohort and making sure we're tailoring that message to them in the right way.
Touching on the omni-channel experience a bit, and we mentioned this earlier, providing this kind of unified shopping experience is crucial for modern retailers. You know that more than anyone. how does Zappos implement like omni-channel strategies like the buy online, pick up in store, curbside pickup stuff, right? I know Zappos primarily online retailer, but are there any kind of initiatives and partnerships that integrate kind of physical touch points like that?
Yeah. So that's something we're actually talking about right now as we look to become a better partner to our vendor partners. Is how can we drive traffic not only to Zappos, but also maybe to your own D2C also. And what can we actually do is we're actually in talks right now with a couple different brands to get something like that done. So we don't have that yet, but that's definitely something we're thinking about because basically we just want to service the customers in the best way possible. They can get something same day, maybe drive 20 minutes, knowing the size is there of the style that they actually want. That's how we should be servicing our customers. So taking a playbook out of like we're calling 34th Street, where they're like, oh, we don't have this, but maybe somebody else does. That would be great to showcase our customers. Hey, we want to service you. We don't just want to service us. We want to make sure that if you want to buy, that New Balance and maybe we don't have it in stock, but there's a store down the street that actually does. I would love to tap into that and say, hey, yeah, we actually can get this for you. It's available here. Would you like to go pick it up? Like that to me is the ultimate customer service. Are we there yet? No. But is that something that I would love to see? Yes.
That's awesome. What a big opportunity. I mean, that's huge. Again, that's going down that road. It's going to position Zappos for another 25 years of amazing growth. That's phenomenal.
That's the deal.
So let's touch on the future of retail. And then I want to talk about Cannes because I know you just got back from Cannes recently and I want to touch on that. So real quick, the retail industry, as we've talked about, it's rapidly evolving. There's a lot of new technology. The future is really bright. There's a lot of innovation, as you know. But I'm curious about all these advancements. You talk about AI and AR and blockchain. Just zooming out of all of that, what future technologies do you think will revolutionize Zappos? Is there stuff that we're not even talking about? Or is there something coming down the pipeline that's going to really change the way Zappos customer experience and operations and how they even meaning to a brand or a customer?
So there's been so many talks about this, and I have something that I will share with you what I think actually is going to be the future of retail.
Okay.
So people love to search and do things on their own also. But as we become like more time starved with our busy lives, working and traveling, doing all this stuff, dropping kids off, like doing all the things, like you don't have time. Like, do you ever spend 2 hours shopping online? No, most people don't. But wouldn't it be great to maybe text a phone number and saying, hey, I'm shopping on Zappos. I would love to find a new running shoe. I love Brooks. I'm a size 10. I'm a flat foot. Can you find a shoe for me? And then for someone to just respond back, maybe with AI, saying, hey, here's the top 5 things. These are all in stock. I can get them to you in 2 days. Do you want to click on this and we'll ship them to you right away? This is your address. Cool. You're a saved member in the Zappos loyalty program. Thank you so much for being a Zappos loyalty member. We'll get this for you in 1 day because of that. How does that sound? You say, great. Your shoes are shipped. You've just created an amazing transaction in less than 2 minutes with no friction. And you didn't even have to actually go to a browser. You just texted someone. Or, we chatted someone or, any of the kind of chatting functionalities. That is what I see the future of retail going is I no longer maybe have the opportunity to do my own research. So I'm going to use someone that is trusted to do it for me. Mm-hmm. So for me, that is what I see as that is like the new wave. And there will always be an in-store experience. I don't think retail is dead. I think bad retail is dead. I mean, look what Abercrombie's done. Look at some even Dick's Sporting Goods, while they're my competitor. Those brand new kind of malls they've kind of opened up, those huge shops, or even Alo Yoga and kind of what they've done to create this immersive experience. That is the future of kind of in-store retail. But what's the future of kind of out-of-store retail? And so that's what I think it is, in my opinion.
I love it. I'm excited for the future you're creating. As you describe that experience, I'm like, that's me. I want to have that shopping experience. Yeah, I'm ready. So when you're beta testing that one, please let us know.
Oh, definitely.
That's great. Okay, let's talk. We got about 10 minutes or less. Let's talk about Cannes. It's an iconic festival. Joe, I mean, what are some of the standout moments or highlights for you during your visit there?
Oh God, there were so many. I think so. Couple standout moments. Google does this amazing kind of CMO roundtable where we kind of all get together people from,
Cool.
Wayfair, Tapestry, Deckers, everyone kind of gets together and says, here's some of the issues that we're having. Google, what can you do to actually help solve this? Obviously, you're a humongous platform for us, huge search engine. And so that was probably one of my big highlights, is just doing that knowledge sharing, realizing, hey, everyone's dealing with the same issues that we're dealing with, how to actually work on them together, and kind of creating this great tiger team, which I thought was awesome.
Was that roundtable? Is that available to listen to?
No, that was a closed door
Ah,
roundtable, unfortunately.
man, that sounds amazing.
It was very, very cool. It was probably one of my most favorite meetings that was not out there in the ether. It was just this is really good stuff.
It's great.
Cool. And another thing that I thought was great was people use this nomenclature like AI is going to take your job. AI is going to go after every white collar job, and you have to figure it out. And I tell my team, AI is not going to replace you, but someone that knows how to utilize AI, they'll probably replace you. So
well said.
We need to be on the forefront. Be a learn-it-all. Don't be a know-it-all. Learn as much as you can, as fast as you can. So that's a big thing that I took off of Con also, is it was just so interesting kind of seeing all these different marketers kind of come together, showcasing new ideas, innovative ideas of how to actually harness AI in the right way. I think some people went a little bit too far, like, hey, this is going to be great in 3 years, but I don't think customers are ready for it. There's some people saying, hey, here's what we can do to actually better your customer right now, and then we can actually grow with them. And I thought that was really, really good. And so that's kind of also the thing that I heard him, that I mentioned a little earlier of, don't move faster than your customers or your culture are willing to do. If the entire internet became non-human and there was no real human pictures anywhere, I think that would be a shell shock to all of us. Now, will it potentially get there in 10 years? Maybe, but we're not ready yet. And so that was another big thing that I kind of took from there, is you have to move how your customer actually is also moving. You can't move too quickly, because then they're just going to leave you and go back to someone that actually is not going that fast. So fast in some ways, but tempering that in other ways.
Any kind of, because you're there also with your peers and probably some executives who also maybe inspire you and light you up. Anything that you kind of took away that you're like role specific, where you're like, wow, I heard whoever from whatever brand talk about how they did this, I'm actually going to take that into my role. And did you hear any of those kind of aha moments?
Yeah. So it was with Wayfair, actually, the CMO there. And he basically kind of akined it to, look, we are never going to replace everything. He's like, but the biggest thing that I've seen is we're asking our customers what they want to see more of, and we're then utilizing AI to see how we can get that faster. And that was a really interesting way. And this is why I kind of talked about when was the last time you talked to your consumers? And so in our last one, we actually just had a consumer TV about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And that was one of the questions that we actually asked them. And it was great to kind of see their responses of I just want to see how it is on different types of people. Okay, great. We can definitely do that. And so those little things I think are really exciting, where people, again, are pontificating of let's do AI for everything. But really it's what do our consumers actually want to see AI utilized as? And a lot of it is very simple. And instead of going these major grandiose ideas, which can also be really great, you got to be working on both the kind of the short term and the long term. Get some of those good short-term wins to gain that customer trust, and then let's go long-term also. So I think that was super important for me.
Any other kind of emerging trends that you observed at the festival? I know it's often they showcase the kind of latest trends in marketing and advertising. Anything that you observed that you're like, this is influencing the retail industry in ways I wasn't thinking about, or maybe outside of retail, any kind of emerging things?
So I think the biggest one out of kind of the marketing side of it was, how do we get people comfortable with non-measurable items? So people talk about upper funnel marketing to lower funnel marketing, and every single CFO will be like, I want to see the ROAS, I want to see the ROI. And that's amazing. It's something that I took from Tony's book, said, and his quote was, how can you measure the ROI of giving your mom a hug? And you can't. There's no way to do that. And we're going to need more of that type of stuff as things become so kind of personalized and tailored and almost anti-human. How do we make sure to create that personal, emotional connection with people and get people to understand that we have to do some of these things to talk about our brand in the right light? They might not be measurable in that moment, but they will be measurable as you see how that customer comes back and interacts with your site. And I thought that was actually
Wow.
really exciting to see. Is that's something that we are constantly dealing with. Everyone wants to measure everything because usually we can. But when you do
Yep.
something that's just talking about your brand, you can't always measure that. You can't measure a billboard. You can't necessarily measure every single item you put out there unless you're selling a specific thing. And that was something that I think we were all kind of dealing with. Is we're in a space now where everything is at our fingertips and everything is measurable. Well, how do we get everyone comfortable with the unmeasurable things? And so that's probably the biggest takeaway for me also, that I bought Brack and said, okay, I'm going more upper funnel as well. You guys all need to be okay. If you trust in me, then trust in this also.
Wow. That's awesome. It's like not losing the dance with your instinct and your intuition and just what you feel. I mean, it's that brilliance too that can't always put a metric or a data point or a KPI to that. Yet those very things often bring brands and organizations to, huge levels. So
Exactly.
a lot of your role, as the marketing leader, I've found, having interviewed hundreds and hundreds of epic leaders like you, is having to really bridge that bridge of trust with the executive leadership team, with the company and the staff and the culture. And it's like you're having to talk about the strategy and then sell the dream constantly. And hey, but trust me, we're going here. I know that everyone says to go left, but we're actually going to go right, and just trust me. That still has to be a part of the equation.
100%. Yes.
Amazing. Well, we've got a couple minutes. I would just want to know, what's on deck for you? When we talk in 5 years, what's Joe going to be doing in 5 years? Where are you going to be? And I'm hoping that we're still going to be humans interacting on screens or in real life. We're not going to be on another planet, but maybe we will. Who knows?
Yeah. So what I would say is, one, I'm definitely going to be here at Zappos. I love this company and I want to see it kind of grow. For me, I call them removing customer paper cuts and removing their pain points. How do I make it easier for consumers to ingest the information and to become more part of their life? So if you're a runner, how can I sign you up for a run club, sign you up for a marathon, give you your shoes, so I'm the one-stop shop for that? So for me, it is really focusing in on what is going to enrich the customer's life so that they create this great connection where if they think, hey, I want to buy footwear, oh, I am going to Zappos. That is there's no question in my mind, and creating that emotional connection for them, I think is where I really am going to be. I see the future being very bright. I'm so excited for the future. For us, we're harnessing all of this AI and machine learning. We've already been doing it. It's just now so much of a buzzword that everyone's talking about it now. But for me, I'm super excited to see all the innovation that we're doing here at Zappos. It's going to just help our customers live an easier life. So that's one thing they won't have to think about, is how to actually protect my feet. Because what people do every single day, you walk around. From the day you get up to when you go to bed, you're on your feet. So how can I make it easier for you to get that right shoe, to make sure that you actually have a healthy foot, a healthy lifestyle? That is really all I want for the consumers. I know that we can deliver that to them.
Joe, what is your superpower?
Oh,
what is the thing? What is the thing that you bring into every room, every scenario? And if you don't say it, I will, but I'm going to give you a chance first. What's your superpower, or one of?
Yeah. So I would say for me, I can bring people together. I can rally everybody kind of around me, and I can say, here's the idea. Here's what we want to do. Let's all go. Are you excited about it? Because I'm excited about it. That is probably my superpower, because all I want to do is energize. I want people feeling great. I want to have a kind of nature going into anything, but I want people to get excited and jazzed about whatever I'm talking about and get them on board, because that is obviously one of the number one goals to get a team. You can't just tell them to do something and push it down and say, figure it out.
Right.
I'm empowering them. So that's probably my superpower right there.
That's what I was going to say. It's clear that energy is the choice. Energy is a choice, and you get that. Strategy and money and all the stuff, it all matters. And I think what's powering it really is just you're choosing who you want to be. You're choosing the excitement to live in possibility. It's we can and we will. Who's coming? Yes. That to me says that tells me a lot about why you'll be in that leadership seat for a long, long time. It's not just the growth. It's your attitude and your ability to step into a room and say, hey, we got this. Let's go. So shout out to you, Joe. It's been such an honor to have you on the show. We finally got Zappos. I'm taking the whole day off. Thank you so much for being here. And just a shout out to the whole team. We're paying attention to the brand. I have been, and I will continue to be. Shout out to you and the whole squad. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is my best meeting of the day for sure.